Chapter 1: Before They Were Legends. The birth of two dreams. There are moments in history when the world witnesses greatness, a goal that changes a tournament, a performance that defines an era, a person who reaches a level that seems impossible. But greatness rarely begins in front of millions of people. It begins quietly, before the stadiums, before the trophies, before the fame. It begins with a child who sees something in himself that the rest of the world cannot yet see. In the late 20th century, two children were born in different parts of the world. They came from different countries, different cultures, different backgrounds. They had different personalities. They followed different paths. But both carried the same dream: to become footballers. One was born in Rosario, Argentina. The other was born on the small Portuguese island of Madeira. One would become known as the greatest example of natural football genius. The other would become known as the greatest example of self-created excellence. Their names would eventually become connected forever: Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. But before they became legends, they were simply two children chasing a dream. Rosario, Argentina, a city known for producing passionate footballers. Here, football was not simply a sport. It was part of everyday life. Children played wherever they could, on streets, in small neighborhoods, in empty spaces between buildings. For many young Argentines, football was a dream. But for one young boy, it was something different. It was almost a language. From an early age, Lionel Messi had an unusual relationship with the ball. While other children chased the game, Messi seemed to understand it. He did not simply run with the ball. He controlled it. He did not simply react to situations. He appeared to understand what would happen before it happened. Coaches noticed something different. His size was small, his personality was quiet, but his ability was impossible to ignore. Yet behind this extraordinary talent was an obstacle that threatened everything. At a young age, Messi was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency. For a child with dreams of professional football, this was not a small problem. The treatment was expensive, the future was uncertain, talent alone was not enough. A person can possess extraordinary ability and still never reach their potential if circumstances prevent them from developing it. This was the first great challenge of Messi's story. Not proving he had talent, but finding a way for that talent to survive. Thousands of kilometers away, on the island of Madeira, another child was beginning a different journey. Cristiano Ronaldo grew up far from the centers of world football. Madeira was beautiful, but it was not where most people expected a future football superstar to emerge. Ronaldo's childhood was shaped by ambition. He wanted more. From a young age, he believed football could change his life. But believing in a dream is easy. Sacrificing for that dream is much harder. At around 12 years old, Ronaldo left his home and moved to Lisbon to join Sporting's academy. For a child, leaving family and everything familiar behind is an enormous decision. Many talented young players dream about success, but fewer are willing to accept the loneliness, pressure, and uncertainty required to pursue it. Ronaldo made that sacrifice early. His journey was not about protecting a natural gift. It was about building himself into someone capable of reaching the highest level. These two stories reveal something important about greatness. The world often sees only the final result. It sees Messi lifting trophies. It sees Ronaldo breaking records. It sees the celebrations. But it rarely sees the invisible years before success. The years of uncertainty, the years of sacrifice, the people who supported them, the decisions that changed their lives. This is something that many people misunderstand about successful individuals. They often appear self-made, but behind every extraordinary person there is usually a foundation, a family member who believed, a coach who recognized potential, an organization that created opportunity, a moment when someone opened a door. Messi needed people who believed his talent was worth investing in. Ronaldo needed environments that allowed his ambition to develop. Greatness is personal, but it is rarely achieved alone. The stories of Messi and Ronaldo also introduce one of humanity's oldest questions. Are great people born, or are they created? For centuries, philosophers, scientists, and psychologists have debated the relationship between natural ability and effort. Some people appear to possess gifts that separate them from others. Others appear to overcome ordinary beginnings through extraordinary discipline. But perhaps the answer is not one or the other. Perhaps greatness is created when ability meets opportunity, when talent meets dedication, when potential meets the right environment. Psychologist Malcolm Gladwell explored the importance of opportunity and circumstances in human achievement. His work showed that success is influenced not only by individual ability but also by timing, environment, and access. The greatest talent in the world cannot fully develop without the right conditions. A seed may contain the potential to become a tree, but it still needs soil, water, and sunlight. Robert Greene, in his study of mastery, described a similar pattern. Exceptional individuals rarely become great overnight. They pass through years of learning, years of improvement, years where nobody is watching. Before the world recognizes mastery, there is always a hidden period of preparation. Messi and Ronaldo represent two different beginnings. Messi's story begins with a rare gift that needed protection. Ronaldo's story begins with a dream that required transformation. One had to overcome physical limitations. The other had to overcome the limitations of his circumstances. But both had something in common. They refused to remain ordinary. Years later, millions of people would debate who was better, who was greater, who deserved the title of the greatest footballer of all time. But before that debate existed, before the comparisons, before the trophies and records, there were only two children, two dreams, two uncertain futures, and two journeys that would eventually change football forever. But their stories were only beginning, because talent alone does not create legends. The next question is even more important. What happens when extraordinary ability faces its first great obstacle? This is the story of Lionel Messi, the boy who had the impossible gift. Chapter 2: Messi, the gift that needed a chance. There are some stories where greatness begins with advantage. A child is born into the perfect environment, the right country, the right resources, the right opportunities. But some of the most remarkable stories in history begin differently. They begin with uncertainty. They begin with an obstacle that could have ended everything before it even started. This is the story of Lionel Messi, a child who appeared too small for the world he was destined to conquer. Rosario, Argentina, a city where football is not simply watched, it is lived. In the streets, football belongs to everyone. Children grow up surrounded by the game, the sound of a ball hitting the ground, the arguments after matches, the dreams of one day representing a club or a country. For young Lionel Messi, football was never just an activity. It was a natural expression of himself. From a very young age, people around him noticed something unusual. He was different, not because he was the strongest, not because he was the fastest, but because he seemed to understand football in a way other children did not. The ball stayed close to him. His movements were unpredictable. His decisions appeared instinctive. While other children were learning how to play football, Messi seemed to already understand its hidden language. But every extraordinary story has a moment where the dream is tested. For Messi, that moment came when doctors discovered that he had a growth hormone deficiency. The diagnosis created uncertainty. Football requires physical development. Professional football requires strength, speed, and endurance. For a young boy already smaller than his peers, this seemed like a serious disadvantage. The treatment he needed was expensive. His family could not easily afford it. The question was no longer, does this child have talent? Everyone around him already knew the answer. The question became, will he get the opportunity to develop that talent? This moment reveals one of the hidden truths behind success. People often look at successful individuals and focus only on the person. They say, he was talented, he was determined, he worked hard. All of these things may be true, but they are only part of the story. Talent requires a bridge between potential and reality. Without support, talent can disappear. Without opportunity, ability can remain invisible. Messi's family played a crucial role during this period. They believed in his ability. They searched for solutions. They made difficult decisions. Eventually, the opportunity came from a place thousands of kilometers away, Barcelona. In the year 2000, at only 13 years old, Lionel Messi left Argentina and moved to Spain. This was not simply a football decision, it was a life-changing decision. Imagine being a child and leaving behind your home, your friends, your language, your familiar world, to move to another country because of a dream. Many people see success and forget the sacrifices that happened before the success arrived. They see the trophies, they do not see the loneliness. They see the fame, they do not see the uncertainty. Barcelona's academy, La Masia, became the environment where Messi's talent could grow. This is an important part of his story, because greatness does not happen in isolation. The genius needs the right environment. A young artist needs teachers. A young scientist needs laboratories. A young athlete needs competition and coaching. Messi had extraordinary ability, but Barcelona gave that ability the structure it needed. This is where the story challenges one of the biggest myths about successful people, the myth of the completely self-made individual. People often look at someone at the top and imagine they climbed there alone. But every great achievement has invisible foundations. Behind Messi there was a family willing to sacrifice, coaches willing to develop him, a club willing to invest in an uncertain teenager, teammates who helped create an environment where he could succeed. This idea connects with the work of Malcolm Gladwell, who studied how success is influenced by factors beyond individual ability. Opportunity matters, timing matters, environment matters. The world often celebrates the person standing on the stage, but history is also shaped by the people who helped build that stage. However, opportunity alone does not create greatness. Barcelona had many talented young players. Thousands of children dream of becoming professional footballers. Very few become legends. The difference is what happens after the opportunity arrives. Messi did not simply join Barcelona. He transformed himself within the system he developed. Better tactical understanding, greater physical strength, improved decision-making, a deeper understanding of space and movement. The natural gift became refined through years of work. This is where the idea of mastery becomes important. Robert Greene, in his study of exceptional individuals, argues that greatness is usually built through a long apprenticeship. Before recognition comes repetition. Before mastery comes thousands of invisible hours. The world sees the final masterpiece. It rarely sees the years spent creating it. Messi's greatest strength was never only his ability to dribble past defenders. It was his ability to see the game differently. Football is a game of time and space. Every player sees the same field, but not every player sees the same possibilities. Messi could identify opportunities before they appeared. A small movement, a small gap, a small mistake from a defender. And suddenly, a moment changed. This ability separates exceptional performers from ordinary ones. They do not only react faster, they understand deeper. A chess grandmaster sees patterns on a board. A great musician feels patterns in sound. A great footballer sees patterns in movement. Messi became a master of recognizing patterns. But perhaps the most important part of Messi's story is not his talent. It is what he did with uncertainty. He could have allowed his condition to define him. He could have accepted that his dream was impossible. Instead, he continued. His journey teaches a powerful lesson. Your disadvantage does not always determine your future. Sometimes the thing that appears to limit you becomes part of the story that makes you unique. Messi's smaller physical frame became connected with his extraordinary balance and agility. What looked like weakness became part of his advantage. Years later, millions would watch Messi create moments that seemed impossible. They would see the goals, the trophies, the celebrations. But behind every moment was the story of a child who almost never received the chance to show what he could become. Because talent is not enough. A gift hidden from the world changes nothing. A gift developed, protected, and refined can change history. But while Messi's story was about discovering and perfecting a rare ability, on another island, another child was beginning a completely different journey. A journey built not around protecting a gift, but around creating himself. This was the story of Cristiano Ronaldo, the boy who refused to accept his limits. Chapter 3: Ronaldo, the boy who refused his limits. Every generation produces talented people, but talent alone does not explain greatness. For every child who dreams of becoming a professional athlete, there are thousands who possess ability. Some disappear, some become good. A very small number become unforgettable. The difference is often not only what someone is born with, it is what they are willing to become. This is the story of Cristiano Ronaldo, a boy who did not begin as the perfect footballer. A boy who transformed himself through ambition, sacrifice, and an almost endless desire to improve. The island of Madeira, Portugal, a beautiful place surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean. For many people, it was a peaceful home, but for a young Cristiano Ronaldo, it represented something else. It was the place where his journey began. Ronaldo was born into a modest family. His childhood was not surrounded by luxury. His father worked as a kit man at a local football club. His mother worked hard to support the family. Football was not simply entertainment. It represented possibility, a way to create a different future. From an early age, Ronaldo displayed something unusual. Not only ability, but hunger. He wanted to improve. He wanted to compete. He wanted to win. Many children enjoy football, but Ronaldo approached it differently. Football became a mission. At a young age, he joined local club Madeira, where his father worked. Later, his talent took him to Nacional. People began noticing his abilities. But what separated Ronaldo was not only his skill, it was his ambition. He wanted to leave Madeira. He wanted to test himself against the best. At approximately 12 years old, Ronaldo made one of the most difficult decisions of his young life. He left his family and moved to Lisbon to join Sporting Clube de Portugal's academy. For many children, leaving home at that age would be overwhelming. A new city, a new environment, new competition. Away from parents and everything familiar. This moment reveals one of the first principles of greatness. Every major achievement requires a sacrifice. The world sees the reward. It rarely sees the cost. People see Ronaldo lifting trophies. They see the wealth, they see the fame. But before all of that came separation, uncertainty, and loneliness. The young Ronaldo was not immediately a finished product. He had talent, but he also had weaknesses. He was thin. He needed physical development. His decision-making needed improvement. His style was sometimes more focused on individual skill than effectiveness. Many talented players remain trapped by their early strengths. They protect what makes them special. Ronaldo did something different. He changed. This became one of the defining characteristics of his career. The willingness to admit, I am not finished. When Ronaldo joined Manchester United as a teenager, the world saw a player with enormous potential. He had speed, creativity, confidence, technical ability, but potential is only the beginning. The question was, could he transform potential into dominance? Under Sir Alex Ferguson, Ronaldo entered an environment designed for improvement. Ferguson understood that young talent requires guidance. A diamond must be shaped. Raw ability must become controlled ability. The young winger who loved tricks and stepovers gradually became something different. He developed better decision-making, greater strength, more efficient movement, a stronger understanding of the game. This transformation is one of the most fascinating parts of Ronaldo's story. He did not remain attached to one version of himself. He continuously rebuilt. The player who arrived at Manchester United was different from the player who dominated at Real Madrid. The Manchester United Ronaldo was explosive, creative, unpredictable. The Real Madrid Ronaldo became clinical, powerful, relentless, a player who could decide matches with extraordinary consistency. This connects with the idea of a growth mindset, studied by psychologist Carol Dweck. A person with a fixed mindset believes, this is who I am. A person with a growth mindset believes, I can become better. Ronaldo's career represents the second idea. He treated himself as a project. His question was never, am I good enough? His question was, how can I become better? This mentality affected every part of his life, his training, his recovery, his preparation, his physical condition, his attention to detail. Many athletes rely on their natural ability. Ronaldo relied on constant improvement. He understood something important. A player's career is not only about reaching the top, it is about staying there. But this journey also came with criticism. People questioned his personality. They questioned his confidence. They questioned whether his ambition was too much. Yet the same qualities that created criticism also created greatness. The desire to be the best, the refusal to accept average, the belief that improvement was always possible. This creates an important psychological question. How much confidence does a person need to achieve something extraordinary? Too little confidence creates fear. Too much confidence can create blindness. The greatest performers often exist in a difficult balance. They believe they can achieve the impossible, but they also know they must continue improving. Ronaldo's story is not the story of someone who had no talent. That would be a misunderstanding. He possessed extraordinary natural abilities. His speed, his coordination, his athleticism, his competitive instincts. But his greatness came from what he did with those abilities. He became a symbol of self-transformation. A reminder that the person you are today does not have to be the person you become tomorrow. This is why Ronaldo's story connects with millions of people. Not everyone feels naturally gifted. Not everyone begins with perfect circumstances. Many people feel limited by where they come from. Ronaldo's message is different. Your starting point does not have to become your final destination. A boy from Madeira became one of the greatest footballers in history, not because he avoided difficulty, but because he used difficulty as fuel. But now the greatest question emerges. Two players, two different beginnings. One discovered an extraordinary gift. One built himself through extraordinary discipline. So what actually creates greatness? Is it talent or is it hard work? Is greatness something we are born with or something we create? The answer lies in the next chapter. Because Messi and Ronaldo represent one of humanity's oldest debates, nature versus nurture. Chapter 4, Nature versus Nurture. The great debate behind greatness. For centuries, humanity has asked one of its most fascinating questions. Are extraordinary people born, or are they created? Are great achievements the result of natural gifts, or are they the result of discipline, sacrifice, and relentless improvement? This question appears everywhere. In science, in art, in business, in leadership, and in sport. The debate between Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo has become one of the greatest examples of this human question, because they represent two different paths toward the same destination. One appears to represent the power of natural genius. The other appears to represent the power of self-transformation. But the deeper truth is more complicated. When people look at Messi, they often see something rare. A player who seems connected to football in a way that cannot be explained completely. His movements appear natural. His decisions appear instinctive. His relationship with the ball appears effortless. People often say Messi was born different, and there is truth in that. Certain physical and cognitive abilities cannot simply be manufactured. Some people possess unusual advantages from the beginning. Messi's balance, coordination, spatial awareness, technical control were extraordinary from childhood. But there is a danger in this story. The danger is believing talent alone creates greatness. History is full of talented people who never reached their potential. A gift is only a possibility. It is not a guarantee. Imagine two musicians. One is born with a beautiful voice. Another has an average voice but spends years mastering technique. Who becomes the greatest? The answer depends on what happens after the initial ability appears. Talent opens the door, but development determines how far someone walks through it. Messi's journey proves this. His natural ability was extraordinary, but it required thousands of hours of practice, elite coaching, tactical education, physical development, mental strength. The genius needed discipline. The gift needed refinement. Now we look at Cristiano Ronaldo. His story is often presented as the opposite. People say, Ronaldo worked hard while Messi was naturally gifted. But this is another oversimplification. Ronaldo was not an ordinary athlete who simply worked harder than everyone else. He possessed rare qualities: explosive speed, exceptional coordination, incredible athletic ability, competitive instincts. Hard work did not create everything. Hard work amplified what already existed. The difference was how Ronaldo viewed himself. Many talented athletes protect their natural abilities. They avoid changing because change creates uncertainty. Ronaldo did the opposite. He constantly rebuilt himself. The young winger who arrived at Manchester United was not the same player who dominated world football years later. He changed. His body, his movement, his decision-making, his style, his role. This is where psychology becomes important. Psychologist Carol Dweck introduced the concept of the growth mindset. The idea is simple. Some people believe their abilities are fixed. Others believe abilities can be developed. The second group is more likely to embrace challenges, learn from failure, and continue improving. Ronaldo's career is almost a case study of this idea. A criticism became a challenge. A weakness became a project. A limitation became something to overcome. But if we only compare Messi and Ronaldo as examples of talent versus work, we miss the bigger picture, because both required both. Messi needed discipline. Without discipline, his talent would have remained a childhood memory. Ronaldo needed talent. Without extraordinary ability, no amount of training would create the career he achieved. The truth is, greatness is rarely created by one ingredient. It is created by a combination: talent, environment, opportunity, practice, mentality, time. This connects with the work of psychologist Anders Ericsson, who studied elite performance and deliberate practice. His research showed that experts are not created simply by repetition. They improve through focused, purposeful practice. They constantly identify weaknesses. They constantly adjust. They constantly refine. Messi and Ronaldo both followed this principle. Messi refined a natural gift. Ronaldo refined himself. There is another important factor that is often ignored: opportunity. A person can have ability and still fail to reach greatness if the right opportunity never appears. Messi needed Barcelona. Ronaldo needed Sporting Lisbon, Manchester United, and Real Madrid. This reveals an uncomfortable truth about success. People often celebrate individual achievement while ignoring the systems that support it. The person standing on the stage receives the applause, but behind that person are thousands of invisible contributions. A great athlete is not created by talent alone. They are shaped by family, coaches, institutions, teammates, timing, circumstances. This does not reduce their achievement. It makes it more impressive. Because greatness is not about doing everything alone. Greatness is about maximizing every advantage you receive. The Messi-Ronaldo debate teaches us something beyond football. Many people ask, what is the secret to success? They want one answer, they want one formula. But history rarely works that way. Different people can reach the same mountain through different paths. Messi's path teaches, find what makes you unique. Develop it deeply, master it. Ronaldo's path teaches, identify your weaknesses, improve relentlessly, never accept your current limits as permanent. One represents the perfection of a rare gift. The other represents the transformation of potential. But perhaps the greatest lesson is that both stories require the same foundation: commitment. Neither Messi nor Ronaldo became legends because of one moment. They became legends because of thousands of decisions repeated over many years. The world often looks for shortcuts to greatness, but Messi and Ronaldo reveal a different truth. Greatness is usually built slowly, quietly, patiently, long before anyone notices, and after years of development their paths eventually crossed. Not in childhood, not in their early careers, but on football's biggest stages. Two different philosophies, two different personalities, two different definitions of excellence, about to compete against each other in the greatest rivalry football had ever seen. The next chapter begins when football itself became the battlefield. Barcelona versus Real Madrid. Messi versus Ronaldo. Chapter 5: Barcelona versus Real Madrid. The rivalry that changed football forever. Football has always had rivalries. Cities against cities, countries against countries, clubs against clubs. But sometimes a rivalry becomes bigger than the competition itself. It becomes a symbol of different ideas, different philosophies, different ways of seeing the world. For more than a decade, football had one question that dominated every conversation: who was better, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo? But what made the debate extraordinary was not only the two players, it was the stage where their rivalry unfolded. Barcelona, Real Madrid, the two most powerful football institutions in the world. Before Messi and Ronaldo, Barcelona and Real Madrid already represented a historic rivalry. El Clasico was never just another match. It carried history, culture, identity, pride. Millions of people watched because it represented something deeper than football. It was a battle between two philosophies. Barcelona represented a football philosophy built around control. The idea was, if you control the ball, you control the game. The club developed a style based on possession, technical ability, intelligent movement, collective understanding. This philosophy was deeply connected to the ideas of Johan Cruyff. Cruyff believed football was not only about physical ability, it was about intelligence. A player had to understand space, movement, timing, the relationship between every player on the field. Real Madrid represented something different. The club had always been associated with ambition, individual brilliance, winning mentality, pressure. Real Madrid did not simply want to compete. It wanted to dominate. The expectation was simple. The greatest players must perform in the biggest moments. When Messi and Ronaldo became the faces of these clubs, the rivalry reached another level. Because suddenly, the philosophical battle had human representatives. Barcelona had Messi, the player who seemed to represent football as art. Real Madrid had Ronaldo, the player who seemed to represent football as conquest. The Guardiola Revolution in 2008. Pep Guardiola became Barcelona's manager. He inherited a talented team, but he created something historic. Barcelona became one of the most influential football teams ever assembled. At the center of this revolution were Xavi Hernandez, Andres Iniesta, Sergio Busquets, Lionel Messi. Football was built around intelligence. The players were not simply moving, they were thinking. Every pass had a purpose, every movement created space, every decision affected the entire structure. Messi became the perfect expression of this philosophy. Originally known as a winger, he evolved into something much greater. He became scorer, creator, playmaker, decision maker. He was no longer simply attacking the opponent's goal. He was controlling the entire attacking process. The world witnessed this transformation in one of the most famous matches in football history, the 2009 Champions League final. Barcelona faced Manchester United. United were the defending champions. Many expected a physical battle. But Barcelona produced a performance that changed how people viewed football, and Messi delivered one of the defining moments. A player known for his feat scored a memorable header against one of the strongest teams in Europe. The symbolism was powerful. The player who was often considered physically limited defeated a physically dominant opponent. The match intelligence can overcome physical disadvantage. The Mourinho challenge, but dominance creates resistance. And Real Madrid needed an answer. That answer arrived with Jose Mourinho, a manager known for tactical discipline, psychological warfare, defensive organization, winning mentality. Mourinho understood one thing. To defeat Barcelona, Real Madrid needed more than talent. They needed mentality. They needed aggression. They needed belief. At the center of this mission was Cristiano Ronaldo, and this was the period where Ronaldo completed his transformation. The player who once entertained crowds with tricks became something different, a machine designed for decisive moments. He developed incredible finishing, powerful movement, physical strength, extraordinary consistency. This created one of football's greatest contrasts. Messi controlled games through understanding. Ronaldo controlled games through domination. Messi asked, "How can I create the perfect football moment?" Ronaldo asked, "How can I become impossible to stop?" The El Clasico era between 2009 and 2018. Every Barcelona versus Real Madrid match felt like a historical event. The world watched. Messi against Ronaldo, Guardiola against Mourinho, Barcelona against Madrid, creativity against power. But something fascinating happened. The rivalry did not destroy either player, it elevated both. When Messi achieved something extraordinary, Ronaldo responded. When Ronaldo reached another level, Messi answered. They created a standard where greatness required constant improvement. This is a pattern seen throughout history. Great competitors often push each other beyond what they would have achieved alone. Think about Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, Steve Jobs, and his competitors in technology. Competition can become a force that accelerates human progress. The psychological battle, the rivalry, also became a psychological phenomenon. People chose sides. But they were often choosing more than a footballer. They were choosing an idea. Messi represented creativity, natural brilliance, quiet excellence. Ronaldo represented ambition, discipline, self-improvement. The debate became a reflection of human values. People saw parts of themselves in the player they admired. But the greatest mistake was believing one had to destroy the other, because their greatness came from different sources. Messi did not need to become Ronaldo. Ronaldo did not need to become Messi. Their uniqueness was the reason they became extraordinary. The deeper lesson, the Messi-Ronaldo rivalry, teaches something important about excellence. The world often thinks competition is about defeating another person. But the highest form of competition is different. It is about forcing yourself to reach levels you never thought possible. Without Ronaldo, would Messi have pushed himself the same way? Without Messi, would Ronaldo have maintained such impossible standards? Nobody can know. But history shows something. Their rivalry created an era that may never be repeated. For years, football fans argued about who was better. But before answering that question, another question must be asked. What exactly made them so extraordinary? Was it talent? Was it training? Was it their bodies? Was it their minds? Was it something deeper? To understand Messi and Ronaldo, we must look beyond the goals. We must examine the science behind greatness, the human performance systems that created two legends. Chapter 6, the science behind their greatness. How Messi and Ronaldo trained their bodies, minds, and abilities to reach the impossible. When people watch Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, they often see the final product. They see the goal, the celebration, the trophy, the moment of brilliance. But greatness is not created in the moment the world is watching. It is created in thousands of invisible moments before that. The training sessions nobody sees, the decisions nobody notices, the habits repeated when there is no applause. Behind every extraordinary performance is a system, and Messi and Ronaldo developed two very different systems for achieving excellence. Messi, the science of natural intelligence. The most common mistake people make when analyzing Messi is focusing only on his dribbling. They see the small touches, the quick movements, the defenders left behind. But dribbling is only the visible result. The deeper ability is perception. Messi does not simply move faster than opponents. He often thinks faster. Football is a game of information. Every second, a player must process. Where are the defenders? Where is the space? Where are teammates moving? What decision creates the greatest advantage? Most players see the game after it happens. Elite players see possibilities before they happen. Messi belongs to this rare category. The science of scanning, one of Messi's most fascinating qualities, is his ability to constantly collect information. Before receiving the ball, he often looks around. He is building a mental picture. He is asking, where is the danger? Where is the opportunity? Where will space appear? This is similar to how experts operate in other fields. A chess grandmaster does not see random pieces. They see patterns. A great surgeon does not see random movements. They see signs. A great musician does not hear random sounds. They hear structure. Messi sees football patterns. This connects with the work of psychologist Daniel Kahneman, who studied how experts make decisions. Experts often do not succeed because they think longer. They succeed because years of experience allow them to recognize important information faster. Messi's genius is not only his ability to perform, it is his ability to understand. The advantage of simplicity. Another important characteristic of Messi is efficiency. Many players use more movement, more effort, more physical action. Messi often achieves more with less. His low center of gravity gives him exceptional balance. His body allows him to change direction, quickly maintain control, under pressure move through small spaces. But physical characteristics alone cannot explain his success. Thousands of players have athletic advantages. Very few become Messi. The difference is how physical ability combines with decision-making. Ronaldo, the science of self-transformation. If Messi represents the perfection of natural football intelligence, Ronaldo represents the engineering of performance. His career is one of the greatest examples of adaptation in sport. When Ronaldo first arrived at Manchester United, he was not the finished product. He was talented, exciting, dangerous, but incomplete. The player who loved tricks and individual moments gradually transformed. He learned when to dribble, when to pass, when to shoot, how to position himself, how to use his body. This transformation reveals a powerful principle. The best performers are not attached to who they currently are. They are committed to who they can become. The body as a project. Ronaldo's approach to physical preparation became legendary. He treated his body as something that could be continuously improved. He focused on strength conditioning, recovery, nutrition, preparation. Many athletes depend on natural physical ability. Ronaldo maximized his. This is why his career is so unusual. Most players decline because their game depends heavily on physical gifts. When speed decreases, they struggle. Ronaldo adapted. The younger Ronaldo relied more on explosive movement. The older Ronaldo relied more on intelligence, positioning, timing, finishing. He did not fight change. He used change, deliberate practice, and mastery. The careers of Messi and Ronaldo connect strongly with the research of Anders Ericsson and the concept of deliberate practice. The idea is, greatness is not created by simply repeating an activity. It is created through purposeful improvement. Deliberate practice means identifying weaknesses, working on them, receiving feedback, adjusting, repeating. This describes both players. Messi perfecting his natural abilities, improving his understanding, refining his decisions. Ronaldo developing weaknesses, changing his playing style, expanding his abilities. The psychology of improvement talent can create confidence, but improvement creates something deeper. It creates belief. This connects with psychologist Albert Bandura's concept of self-efficacy, the belief I can influence my own outcome. Ronaldo's career strongly reflects this idea. Every improvement reinforced his belief that he could become better. Messi's confidence came from mastery. He knew what he could do because he had repeated it thousands of times. Both developed powerful internal belief systems. The role of obsession. There is a difficult truth about extraordinary achievement. The habits that create greatness are often extreme. To become exceptional, a person must care about something more deeply than most people. Messi and Ronaldo both developed unusual relationships with football. For Messi, the game appears almost natural, a form of expression. For Ronaldo, the game became a mission, a challenge to overcome. Different personalities, different approaches, same destination. The cost of the system, but every system has a price. The world celebrates the result. It rarely sees the sacrifice. Behind Messi's greatness, leaving home young, constant expectations, living under comparison. Behind Ronaldo's greatness, strict discipline, constant pressure, maintaining impossible standards. Greatness is attractive from the outside, but the path toward it requires giving up comfort. The deeper human lesson. Messi and Ronaldo reveal two important truths. Messi teaches, you should discover your natural strengths. Find what makes you unique, then dedicate yourself to mastering it. Ronaldo teaches, you should never accept your current limitations. Your present ability is not your final ability. Together they reveal, talent creates possibility, practice creates ability, discipline creates consistency, time creates mastery. The world sees the extraordinary moments, but extraordinary moments are built from ordinary actions repeated for years. The next question is not how they trained. The next question is how they handled the moments when everything was at stake. The failures, the criticism, the pressure, the moments that reveal who someone truly is. Because legends are not created only by victories. They are created by how they respond when victory disappears. Chapter 7: The moments that created legends. How failure, pressure, and redemption built Messi and Ronaldo. The world remembers champions. It remembers the trophies, the celebrations, the final whistle, the photographs that become history. But greatness is not created only in moments of victory. It is created in the moments when victory disappears, when confidence is tested, when criticism becomes louder than praise, when the world begins to question whether someone is truly as great as people once believed. This is where legends separate themselves. Because talent can produce beautiful moments, but character is revealed through difficult ones. The stories of Messi and Ronaldo are not only stories of success, they are stories of response. Lionel Messi, the genius searching for validation. For many years, Lionel Messi's greatest challenge was not club football. At Barcelona, he had already achieved almost everything. He won league titles, Champions League trophies, individual awards. He became the face of one of the greatest football teams ever created. But there was one question that followed him everywhere. Argentina. The weight of a nation in Argentina. Football is not simply entertainment. It is part of national identity. The country had produced one of history's greatest footballers, Diego Maradona. Many Argentines wanted Messi to achieve something similar. The expectation was enormous. Messi reached the 2014 World Cup final. Argentina faced Germany. The match went into extra time. The dream was close, but Germany scored. Argentina lost. For many players, reaching a World Cup final would be considered the greatest achievement of their career. For Messi, it became another reason for criticism. The question was not, how far did he go? The question became, why did he not win? This reveals something interesting about greatness. The higher a person climbs, the less people judge them by ordinary standards. A normal player is celebrated for reaching a final. A legend is criticized for losing one. The Copa America pain. Messi experienced another painful chapter with Argentina. 3 consecutive major final disappointments. 2014 World Cup Final, Copa America, 2015 Final, Copa America Centenario, 2016 Final. After the 2016 Copa America loss, Messi announced his retirement from international football. The pressure had become overwhelming. The criticism had become personal. This moment is important because it reveals something human. Even the greatest performers have emotional limits. Greatness does not mean a person never struggles. It means they find a way to continue. The return Messi returned to the national team, and something changed. The pressure that once appeared impossible became motivation. In 2021, Argentina won the Copa America. For Messi, it was more than a trophy. It was freedom. Years of criticism were replaced by acceptance. But the final chapter was still waiting. The World Cup, Qatar 2022. At 35 years old, many wondered whether Messi had missed his opportunity. Football careers are short. The physical peak usually comes earlier. But Messi had adapted. He was no longer only the explosive young player. He became leader, creator, experienced decision-maker. Argentina reached the final against France, one of the greatest World Cup finals ever played. The match contained everything. Goals, pressure, uncertainty, individual brilliance. Argentina won. Messi lifted the World Cup. The story had changed. The criticism that followed him for years became part of the journey. The weakness became part of the legend. The lesson from Messi's story teaches, sometimes the hardest opponent is not another person. It is the expectation created by your own success. The challenge is not only becoming great, the challenge is carrying the weight of greatness. Cristiano Ronaldo, the champion who turned pressure into fuel. Cristiano Ronaldo's journey contains a different type of struggle. His challenge was rarely proving he had talent. His challenge was proving he could become the best, and then proving it again and again. The early criticism when Ronaldo arrived at Manchester United, many admired his ability, but many also criticized him. They said he was too focused on tricks, he held the ball too long, he needed efficiency. This is where his mentality became clear. Some players respond to criticism by defending themselves. Ronaldo responded by improving. He transformed his game. The flashy winger became a complete attacker. The player who entertained became the player who decided matches. The 2008 Champions League final, Manchester United faced Chelsea in Moscow. The match was decided by penalties. Ronaldo scored during the match, but during the penalty shootout, he missed. For a moment, his mistake could have defined him, but Manchester United won. Ronaldo became a Champions League winner, a Ballon d'Or winner. The lesson: failure in one moment does not define a career. The response does. Real Madrid and the burden of expectations. When Ronaldo joined Real Madrid, the pressure increased. Real Madrid is not a normal club. It demands greatness. The expectation is not simply to compete, it is to win. Ronaldo accepted that pressure. At Real Madrid, he created one of the greatest scoring periods in football history. He became the club's record goal scorer. He dominated the Champions League. But the pressure never disappeared, because success creates a new problem. You must constantly prove that you deserve your position. Portugal and international doubt. For years, Portugal had talented players but struggled to win major international tournaments. Ronaldo carried the hopes of a nation. At Euro 2016, Portugal reached the final against France. Ronaldo suffered an injury and had to leave the match. Many expected Portugal's dream to end, but they won. The moment showed something important. Leadership is not only what happens when you are performing. Sometimes leadership is what remains after you leave the field. The longevity challenge. One of Ronaldo's greatest achievements is not one trophy, it is time. Many players reach greatness. Few maintain it. As he aged, Ronaldo changed his game. He relied less on speed, constant dribbling, and more on positioning, movement, finishing, experience. He adapted instead of fighting change. The lesson from Ronaldo's story teaches, you do not have to accept your current version of yourself. A person can improve, a person can rebuild, a person can transform. Two different relationships with failure. Messi and Ronaldo experienced failure differently. Messi, failure challenged his identity. The question was, can he deliver for Argentina? His answer came through persistence. Ronaldo, failure challenged his ambition. The question was, can he become the greatest? His answer came through improvement. Different struggles, different responses, same result, greatness. The deeper human truth: people often believe successful people are successful because they avoid failure. History shows the opposite. The greatest people often experience more failure because they attempt more. They take bigger risks. They carry bigger responsibilities. They face bigger expectations. Messi and Ronaldo did not become legends because they never fell. They became legends because they continued after falling. The world remembers the goals. But the goals were built from moments nobody celebrated. The doubts, the criticism, the defeats, the decisions to continue, because greatness is not measured only by how high someone rises. It is measured by how they respond when they fall. But after examining their journeys, their psychology, and their achievements, one question remains. The question that has divided football fans for more than a decade. Who truly deserves to be called the greatest? To answer that, we must look beyond emotions, beyond loyalty, beyond personal preference. We must examine the numbers, the achievements, and the meaning behind greatness itself. The GOAT debate begins. Chapter 8, the GOAT debate. Beyond numbers, Messi versus Ronaldo. Can greatness truly be measured? For more than a decade, football has asked one question more than any other. Who is the greatest of all time? The debate has filled stadiums. It has dominated television discussions. It has created millions of arguments around the world. Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. Two names, two careers, two different definitions of excellence. But before attempting to answer the question, we must ask something more important. What does greatness actually mean? Because every generation creates its own definition. Some people believe greatness is measured by trophies. Others believe it is measured by individual brilliance. Some value goals. Others value creativity. Some admire natural ability. Others admire discipline and transformation. The difficulty with comparing Messi and Ronaldo is that they did not become extraordinary in the same way. They solved football's greatest challenges differently. The argument for Messi, the complete footballer. The strongest argument for Messi is not simply his goals. It is his total influence on the game. Messi can create chances, score goals, dribble, pass defenders, control the tempo, create opportunities for teammates. He is not only a player who finishes attacks, he is a player who creates them. A traditional attacker often asks, how can I get into a position to score? Messi often asks a different question. How can I control this entire situation? This is why many people consider Messi one of the most complete attacking players in football history. His influence is measured not only by what happens at the end of an attack, it is measured by everything that happens before. The creativity argument. Football is not only about physical ability, it is also about imagination. A great creator sees possibilities that others cannot see. Messi's supporters argue that his ability to find impossible passes, escape pressure, create space, change the rhythm of a match makes him unique. His greatness is connected with the idea of football as an art form, like a painter creating something new, like a musician improvising something unexpected. Messi does not simply execute football, he creates it. The World Cup argument. For many years, one criticism followed Messi. He has not won the World Cup. For some people, the World Cup represents the ultimate test, the stage where legends become immortal. In 2022, Messi and Argentina finally achieved that victory. The tournament changed the conversation. The player who had been criticized for international disappointment became the leader who completed one of football's greatest stories. For Messi supporters, the argument became, the final missing piece was found. The argument for Ronaldo, the greatest goal scorer. The strongest argument for Ronaldo begins with one simple fact. He scores, and he scores everywhere. His career has been built on consistency, adaptation, longevity, decisive moments. Ronaldo supporters argue, football is ultimately decided by results. A player who repeatedly delivers goals at the highest level has achieved something extraordinary. The adaptation argument, perhaps Ronaldo's strongest argument, is not his goals, it is his evolution. The player who arrived at Manchester United was not the same player who dominated at Real Madrid. He changed. He succeeded in England, Spain, Italy, international football, different leagues, different opponents, different tactical environments. This supports the argument that Ronaldo was not simply a product of one system. He carried his excellence with him. The mentality argument. One of the most common descriptions of Ronaldo is his mentality, his belief, his competitiveness, his desire to improve. Many talented players reach the top, few remain there. The ability to maintain elite performance for nearly 2 decades requires something unusual. Ronaldo represents the idea that human beings can continuously improve themselves. He became a symbol of discipline, ambition, self-belief. The problem with statistics. Statistics are important, they give us evidence. But they cannot answer every question. Goals tell us who finished attacks. They do not always tell us who created the attack. Assists tell us who made the final pass. They do not always tell us who controlled the entire sequence. Trophies tell us who won. They do not always tell us the individual contribution within the team. Football is too complex to be reduced to one number. Imagine comparing two architects. One creates the entire design. Another builds the strongest structure. Who is better? The answer depends on what you value. Messi and Ronaldo are similar. One represents creation. The other represents execution. Both are forms of excellence. Different definitions of greatness. If greatness means creativity and playmaking, many would choose Messi. Goal scoring and finishing, many would choose Ronaldo. Natural football intelligence, many would choose Messi. Physical transformation and longevity, many would choose Ronaldo. Complete attacking influence, many would choose Messi. Competitive mentality, many would choose Ronaldo. The answer changes because the definition changes. Why the debate became so emotional. The reason people argue so passionately is because they are not only defending football, they are defending values. People who admire Messi often admire creativity, intelligence, natural ability, elegance. People who admire Ronaldo often admire discipline, ambition, resilience, self-improvement. The debate became a reflection of how people see success. The biggest mistake is believing that one player must destroy the other. History does not always work that way. Sometimes greatness exists in different forms at the same time. The world did not need only one of them. Football was fortunate enough to experience both. Messi did not need Ronaldo's career. Ronaldo did not need Messi's career. Their greatness came from being themselves. The final analysis, the question, who is the greatest, may never have a universal answer. But another question does. Why were they so great? Because both possessed rare qualities. Both had talent. Both had discipline. Both had sacrifice. Both had opportunity. Both had an extraordinary desire to improve. Messi showed a natural gift, developed perfectly, can reach unimaginable heights. Ronaldo showed a person can continuously transform themselves through discipline and determination. The greatest lesson is not choosing one. The greatest lesson is understanding what both represent. Because greatness is not a single road, it is a mountain with many paths. But even the greatest athletes are not immune from misunderstanding. Over time, myths grow, fans exaggerate, critics simplify. The truth becomes hidden beneath stories created by supporters and opponents. To understand Messi and Ronaldo completely, we must examine the myths, criticisms, and difficult conversations surrounding both legends. Because greatness is not only about what people celebrate, it is also about what people question. Chapter 9: The Myths, Criticism, and Reality. Messi versus Ronaldo. Separating the legends from the stories built around them. When a person becomes famous enough, they stop being seen only as a person. They become an idea. They become a symbol. They become a reflection of what people believe. This happened with Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Over the years, they became more than footballers. Messi became the symbol of natural brilliance. Ronaldo became the symbol of relentless ambition. But when someone reaches that level of fame, something else happens. The truth becomes surrounded by stories. Some stories are accurate, some are exaggerated. Some are created by fans who want their favorite player to appear greater, and some are created by critics who want to reduce a legend. To understand Messi and Ronaldo, we must separate reality from mythology. Myth 1: Messi was only talent. One of the most common arguments is Messi was naturally gifted, while Ronaldo had to work. At first, this sounds convincing. Messi's ability looked effortless. His dribbling appeared natural. His decisions appeared automatic. But this explanation is incomplete. Natural ability was only the beginning. A child can have talent, but talent without development disappears. History is full of gifted players who never reached their potential. Messi's greatness required years of training, tactical education, physical development, mental resilience, constant improvement. The player people saw on the biggest stages was not simply a gifted child. He was a gifted child who spent his life refining that gift. The better description is not Messi was born great. It is Messi was born with extraordinary potential and dedicated his life to mastering it. Myth 2: Ronaldo had no natural talent. The opposite myth exists about Ronaldo. Some people say Ronaldo only succeeded because he worked harder. Again, this is incomplete. Hard work matters, but hard work alone does not create a player like Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo possessed rare natural abilities: explosive speed, exceptional coordination, powerful athleticism, technical skill, competitive instinct. Many players train hard. Very few become among the greatest footballers in history. The truth is, Ronaldo did not replace talent with work. He combined talent with an extraordinary commitment to improvement. Myth 3. Messi could only succeed because of Barcelona. Another common criticism: Messi was only great because Barcelona built a system around him. There is some truth here. No player succeeds completely alone. Barcelona provided excellent teammates, elite coaching, a suitable tactical environment, but the argument becomes weak when it suggests Barcelona created Messi. Barcelona had many talented players. Only one became Lionel Messi. Great players need great environments, but great environments also need great players. The relationship works both ways. A beautiful garden helps a plant grow, but the seed still matters. Myth 4. Ronaldo is only a goal scorer. Some critics reduce Ronaldo's career to, he just scores goals. But this ignores his evolution. The young Ronaldo was not only a scorer. He was a dribbler, a creator, a winger, an entertainer. Over time, he transformed. He became a movement expert, an elite finisher, a physical phenomenon, a master of positioning. The criticism misunderstands something important. Goals are not a weakness. Scoring consistently against the best defenders in the world is one of the hardest achievements in sport. Myth 5. Messi is not a leader. This criticism has followed Messi for years. The argument: he is too quiet. He does not lead like traditional captains, but leadership has different forms. Some leaders inspire through words, others inspire through example. Messi's leadership style is based on performance, consistency, responsibility. He does not always dominate conversations. He dominates moments. However, the criticism reveals an important point. Messi is not the same type of leader as players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Sergio Ramos, Diego Maradona. His leadership is quieter. Different does not mean absent. Myth 6. Ronaldo's confidence is just ego. Ronaldo's personality has always attracted debate. Some admire his confidence, others criticize it. The criticism: he thinks too highly of himself. But elite performers often require unusual confidence. A person cannot spend 20 years competing at the highest level while constantly doubting whether they belong. Ronaldo's self-belief helped him handle criticism, demand excellence, continue improving, but confidence also has risks. The same personality trait that creates ambition can sometimes create controversy. The truth is more complicated. Ronaldo's confidence was both a source of power and a source of debate. Myth 7. The World Cup settled everything. After Messi won the World Cup in 2022, some people declared, the debate is finished. The World Cup was extremely important. It strengthened Messi's argument. It completed a major part of his career story. But one tournament cannot erase an entire career. Football greatness includes longevity, consistency, club achievements, adaptation, influence. If one competition alone decided greatness, history would become unfair. The World Cup changed the conversation. It did not erase Ronaldo's achievements. Myth 8. Statistics tell the whole story. Both sides use statistics. One side says, goals prove Ronaldo. The other says, creativity proves Messi. Statistics are valuable. They provide evidence, but they are not the complete story. Football contains things that numbers struggle to capture: decision-making, movement, leadership, tactical influence, psychological impact. A player can influence a match without scoring. A player can score without controlling the entire game. Numbers tell part of the story. Understanding completes it. The deeper human lesson: the Messi-Ronaldo debate reveals something about human nature. Humans prefer simple stories. We want hero, villain, winner, loser. But greatness is rarely that simple. Two people can both be extraordinary. Two people can represent different paths. Two people can create history together. The biggest mistake is asking, which one should we eliminate? The better question is, what can we learn from both? Messi teaches, develop your natural strengths, master your craft, let excellence speak. Ronaldo teaches, improve constantly, challenge your limits, build yourself. The truth is not found by destroying one story to protect another. The truth is found by understanding both. But after examining their achievements, criticisms, and philosophies, one final question remains. Beyond football, beyond trophies, beyond records, what did these two legends teach humanity about greatness itself? Because their greatest legacy may not be the goals they scored. It may be the lessons they leave behind. The final chapter explores the legacy of Messi and Ronaldo. Chapter 10, The Legacy of Messi and Ronaldo. What two legends teach humanity about greatness? History remembers champions. It remembers the trophies they lifted, the records they broke, the moments that made millions of people celebrate. But the greatest individuals in history are remembered for something deeper. They change how people think about what is possible. They create a new standard. They force the next generation to dream bigger. Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo did exactly that. Their legacy is not only found in football statistics, it is found in the millions of people who watched them and asked, "What can I achieve if I dedicate myself completely to something?" Two boys who changed the meaning of excellence. When Messi and Ronaldo began their journeys, nobody knew what would happen. One was a small child from Rosario with an extraordinary relationship with the ball. The other was a child from Madeira who believed he could become something greater than his circumstances. Neither knew they would one day become symbols of excellence. Neither knew millions of people would study their careers. But both followed the same principle. They committed their lives to becoming better. Messi's legacy, the power of uniqueness. Messi changed the way people viewed talent. Before Messi, many young players believed greatness required physical advantages: height, strength, power, speed. Messi challenged that idea. He showed the world that intelligence can overcome physical limitations, that creativity can defeat strength, that a person does not have to become like everyone else to become exceptional. His lesson is powerful. Do not ignore what makes you different. The thing people see as a weakness may become the foundation of your greatest strength. Messi represents the idea that mastery begins with understanding yourself, finding your natural ability, developing it, refining it, perfecting it. Ronaldo's legacy, the power of transformation. Ronaldo changed another belief, the belief that people are limited by their starting point. He showed that improvement can become a lifestyle, that weaknesses can become projects, that a person can continuously rebuild themselves. The young player from Madeira was not the finished product. He became the finished product through discipline, adaptation, sacrifice, relentless improvement. His lesson is, your current ability does not define your final potential. The two philosophies of greatness, Messi and Ronaldo, are often compared as competitors. But perhaps history will remember them differently. Perhaps they will be remembered as two answers to the same question. The question, how far can human potential go? Messi answered, a person can take a rare gift and perfect it beyond imagination. Ronaldo answered, a person can continuously transform themselves through discipline and ambition. One represents refinement, the other represents reinvention. The invisible foundations behind greatness. One of the most important lessons from their stories is that greatness is never created alone. The world sees the individual, but behind every individual are countless influences. Messi needed family support, medical support, Barcelona's investment coaches, teammates. Ronaldo needed family encouragement, Sporting Lisbon, Manchester United, Real Madrid coaches who challenged him. This reveals a truth about success. The person standing on the stage is visible. The people and circumstances that help build the stage are often invisible. Greatness is personal, but it is rarely individual. The impact on future generations. A generation of young players grew up watching Messi and Ronaldo, but their influence goes beyond football. A young player watching Messi learned, you do not have to fit the traditional image of greatness. A young player watching Ronaldo learned, you can improve yourself beyond your current limitations. Together, they expanded the definition of excellence. The business and cultural impact. Messi and Ronaldo also transformed the global image of athletes. They showed that modern athletes are not only competitors, they are global figures. Their influence reached sports culture, advertising, social media, fashion, global entertainment. But their greatest impact was not commercial. It was emotional. They gave millions of people a story to follow, a reason to believe that extraordinary achievement was possible. Why this rivalry will never be repeated easily. Football has always produced great players, but the Messi-Ronaldo era was unique because several rare conditions existed at the same time. Two extraordinary talents, two different philosophies, two players competing at the highest level, 2 decades of consistency, a world connected through technology watching every moment. Usually, history gives us one exceptional figure. This era gave us two. The final human lesson, perhaps the greatest mistake, is asking, who won the rivalry? Because the rivalry was not really about defeating another person. It was about pushing the boundaries of excellence. Messi and Ronaldo were not simply competing against each other. They were competing against the limits of human performance. They showed the world two truths. The first, talent matters. A rare ability, developed properly, can create something extraordinary. The second, discipline matters. A person willing to improve every day can transform themselves beyond expectations. But there is one final truth. Neither talent nor discipline works without time. Greatness requires years. Thousands of small decisions, thousands of moments where a person chooses improvement over comfort. The world saw the final result, the goals, the trophies, the celebrations. But greatness was created long before anyone was watching. It was created in the training grounds, the difficult moments, the sacrifices, the failures, the decisions to continue. Final conclusion: Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo will forever be compared. People will continue debating. Some will choose Messi, some will choose Ronaldo. But perhaps the greatest lesson is not choosing one. Perhaps the greatest lesson is understanding what both represent. Messi teaches, find your unique ability. Protect it, develop it, master it. Ronaldo teaches, challenge yourself, improve yourself. Never accept your limits as permanent. Together, they reveal a timeless principle. Greatness is not created by one moment. It is created by a lifetime of commitment. Two boys begin with different circumstances. One from Rosario, one from Madeira. Two different paths, two different philosophies, one unforgettable era. Football may never see another rivalry exactly like this again, but the lessons they leave behind belong to everyone. Because the greatest competition is not always against another person. The greatest competition is against a person you could become.